Okay, let me just start the episode by saying that from a lot of the stuff that I'm going to be mentioning here, it might make it seem as though these women, or at least whoever it is that says these statements, is being manipulative or is just trying to manipulate. And to be honest, I honestly don't know if they are. But what I do know is that these statements are here to be debunked. And I'm not really here to say that, oh, so and so is busy manipulating you. But the rule of thumb here is if your woman is saying this to you, because it's mostly the women that usually say this stuff, not necessarily the guys as much, but if you are being told this, there's a pretty good chance that the statement itself is loaded, and if anything, you should at least be able to decipher that whatever you're being told is probably BS or is covering up for some BS. And, hopefully after listening to this episode, you should be able to stand your ground a hell of a lot better. What am I talking about? I need to get into that, and considering all that I've said, I'm surprised that I didn't start with an intro, so let's change that pretty quickly. Welcome to the Breakdown Podcast, where I talk about love, sex, and relationships from a guy's perspective, as well as a bunch of other guy shit. The man on the mic is Sir Denver B. This is a shorter, less edity, no instrumentally version of the podcast, where I basically discuss one topic, and I keep it as concise as can be, and it doesn't have instrumentals, but it's usually just kinda there to fill up for the space because I'm on break from doing the full episodes. And in today's shorter, less edity episode, I have the topic that is manipulation. Okay, it's not really manipulation per se, you could argue that it is or it isn't, but it is 5 particular lies that are disguised as love that you should never really fall for, and I'm here to explain why. Now, I'm not gonna lie that this is an original thing. This is something that I saw on TikTok as a post, and I figured, I might as well get into them and kind of break them down my own way, because dude wasn't saying anything wrong. It's just I didn't really feel like it was trying to address issues from both sides to some degree. So I figured, might as well do it my way, because I feel like my way might seem a little bit better for me and maybe even for my listeners. So let's get into the 5 manipulative lies disguised as love that you should never fall for, and why. Now, the very first one is particularly interesting because it is something that kind of leverages on stuff that we've been told by much older guys. Especially if you're a guy, you'll hear stuff like what it is that's being said. It's just that it was taken and probably paraphrased and maybe rephrased a little bit in a way that might actually put you on the back foot as a guy. So the statement says, and I quote, "A real man apologizes even when he's not wrong." End quote. And the thing is, this is stuff that you hear older guys busy talking about. Oh, sometimes it's okay to just apologize if it's a bad situation or during an argument. It's not even about winning the argument. It's not even that, you're wrong or anything. Just apologize so that you can get it over and done with. And the thing is, I can agree to that, and I agree with what they're saying. It's just that is sometimes a slippery slope if you do not have the ability to control boundaries as a guy, and can very easily lead you to a particularly bad place. Because there's nothing wrong with apologizing when you're wrong, and even sometimes just to get the argument sorted out, and even kind of kill a debate or something of the sort. It's perfectly okay to do that as a guy. It's just the frequency at which you do it will tell whether you're dealing with something that is very manageable or whether you have a problem that is waiting to explode in your hands. Because if it's something that's particularly frequent, if all you're doing to resolve the argument, to kill the debate, or even just to make her happy is apologize, and you're doing it a lot over a particularly short period of time, then there's a pretty good chance that you are dealing with someone that might be having a problem with admitting defeat, that might be having a problem with acknowledging that they're wrong. And such people, while it's not like they're entirely bad people all the time, can be very, very toxic. People will always make jokes about how, the wife is always right even when she's wrong. And, those are fun. But if you're dealing with someone that does not know how to admit defeat or actually acknowledge that they were wrong, then there's a pretty good chance that you might be dealing with someone toxic. And if all you're doing is apologizing, then you're not using it as a tool to end an argument and move on and, preserve your peace. You're basically reinforcing a strategy where you're being forced to be more submissive to the person that you're doing it to. So I feel like at some point, if it becomes like a very constant thing that you have to do all the time, then you may have to reevaluate the kind of person that you're with, because if they can't admit that they're wrong or that they haven't done the right thing, then you guys might be staring each other into a hell of a lot of ruin down the road. So with that said, let me move things on to the next supposed manipulative lie that is usually given, which says, and I quote, "Spoil her until she's too expensive for other men." End quote. Now, do I agree with this? I don't know. It does kind of sound like, you're basically trying to outbid a babe, from other guys. And I personally just think that this is a whole lot of bullshit, because, like, even billionaires have gotten cheated on. So if that's the case and there's billionaires that get cheated on out here, who the fuck am I lying to that I can do better than them as far as spoiling someone? They have the ultimate tool to spoil a person. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not like money is everything, but, it can kind of be a lot, especially when it comes to such people. So, by that alone, I wouldn't even bother with the thought that this would actually be entirely true. Also, if you do it quite a bit, then it stops from being a case of being spoiled to a case of a babe that's basically used to it. So the moment you even falter or stop doing it at any given point in time for any given reason, suddenly it's going to cause issues in the relationship, and the only person that everyone will be blaming is you, because you got her used to being spoiled. So for what it's worth, I think this is also a bullshit statement, and it is a very loaded one, whereby I feel like someone's trying to get princess treatment as your babe, and they're basically trying to put you in a position where you feel like you have to give it to her all the time, which at the end of the day, it still has to be your choice. It's just, if you feel like you have to do it all the time, then maybe it's not a relationship. Maybe you're outbidding someone, or maybe you're really, really just working for your babe. But, I could be wrong about that one. But either way, I'm going to leave it at that and move it on to the next manipulative lie, which says, and I quote, "If you treat me right and provide all my needs, I won't even look at another man." End quote. And this is probably one of the most toxic statements I have seen and heard a bunch of babe talk about. And here's the thing, okay? While it might not seem like a bad statement, I want you to think about it properly, because the first time I ever heard someone saying this, the immediate picture that I got was, and I know most babes might probably not get this, but if you've ever watched the Flash series or watched Justice League Doom, there's a scenario where the Flash has a bomb strapped to them and they can't take it off, and they basically have to run. And if they slow down or stop, then the bomb goes off. So they basically have to run and continue running, either at the same speed or increase it. And if they increase it, they can't take it down. So that scenario is what exactly this statement sounds like, because if at any given point in time I am unable to provide for your needs or provide and cater to your needs, then you will automatically start to check out other options, or possibly even check out of the relationship. Now, I may not be the guy that's wishing to have hard times or hardships or anything, but considering that hardships are a facet of life that a lot of people usually have to go through, I would absolutely hate the idea of having someone that I consider my partner and my confidant busy looking to leave and go somewhere else or look at other guys just because I'm going through some shit. Like the time when I really wish that the person I consider to be the closest to me is basically supposed to be supporting me, that's when she's busy looking for other options. I would absolutely hate an idea or a situation of something like that ever happening. So I feel like if you had to tell me this, I'd be like, you know what, it's cool. Go find yourself another guy who can do that for you, because I want someone that would be with me. As wedding vows tend to quote, for richer, for poorer. But, maybe that's just me. Maybe there's guys that are just there for richer. Could be the case. But anyways, with that said, let's move on to the next manipulative lie that people usually tend to give. And by people, this one is very, very specific to women. And it says, and I quote, "If you want to see my feminine side, you have to unlock it." End quote. Of which this one tends to be paraphrased a couple of different times and, in a couple of different ways. And a lot of the time, what you'll usually hear is stuff like, oh, he has to treat her a certain way so that she can be in her feminine. She has to be put in her feminine, aura. And you have to be a masculine man to put a woman in her feminine. And this is probably one of the statements that I've heard the most from women, and it's an ideology and I guess even a thought process that has really pushed me towards talking about how, like, the way women usually talk about how they wish things were like they were back in the day, I have started saying pretty much the same thing, and I'll get to why in a second. Because, like, why the hell is it being treated like an unlockable character? Why do I have to act a certain way so that you can be feminine to me? Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that how you treat people can very easily determine how, they get to treat you back. It's just, at the end of the day, like, I don't come with unlockable character situations like that. It's not like, oh, I'm going to wear a dress up until a babe says that I look good, then I'm going to switch over to suits or some shit. So why do I suddenly have to unlock your feminine side? Like, why are you guarding it behind something? Why can't you just be feminine to me and treat me in a very nice, soft, feminine way because I'm your man? Why do I have to fulfill certain conditions? Like, that's the shit that I've never fully understood. And the truth of it is, like, I usually say I miss how things were back in the day because back in the day, some of your mothers, if not grandmothers going backwards, were basically taught and would teach other women how to be good wives, how to be good partners, how to be good mothers, because clearly y'all are waiting for special conditions and an emotional situation for you to decide to naturally treat me that way, yet I'm expected to show up and be the guy that I'm supposed to be every fucking time. And that personally just feels very, very annoying. And to make matters worse, there is no set defined idea of what masculinity is. People just look at it as a quote-unquote more manly or less manly behavior, as more masculine or less masculine. And the truth of it is, most people, even men, don't even fully understand masculinity. Masculinity is very, very much by personal definition. So why do I have to fulfill your ambiguous idea of masculinity? And yet I've been raised differently and I'm a man and are masculine by probably even a different set of rules and standards. Why do I suddenly have to fulfill, this ambiguous set of expectations as masculine for me to suddenly get better treatment? Like, in my opinion, I consider that to be highly, highly bullshit. If you're going to treat me in a feminine way, treat me in a feminine way. Don't feed me that bullshit, yet even you know that you sometimes give feminine treatment to guys that you like simply because you like them. Like, that's just a thing, But anyways, let me not sound like I'm crashing out and move on to the very last but not least loaded statement, aka manipulative lie, which says, and I quote, "My behavior depends on you. If I'm acting up, it's your fault." End quote. Now, I'm going to admit I haven't really heard babes saying this, and I'm probably lucky that I haven't, because if you were a babe and you told me this, I would leave you and just continue moving, because clearly, if I'm far away and peaceful enough, then your behavior shouldn't really, really be any bad, technically speaking, because if, your behavior depends on me, all I have to do is be peaceful, then you should be peaceful. Problem is, the kind of person that would make such a statement doesn't know how to be peaceful. So they would much rather allege that their feelings is tied to how you treat them or how you are, just so that it can justify you coaxing them and making them feel better and, possibly relaxing and not crashing out, even though you may have a solid reason for doing so, simply because you don't want them to get all emotional and act up. And the truth of it is Not unless if I'm dealing with kids, of which I am neither a pedophile nor am I R. Kelly, I shouldn't be dealing with a grown adult that lacks emotional control. If you do not know how to have at least some level of emotional control, then honestly, I feel like the problem is you, not me. It might sound like I'm hitting back at you in a manipulative way, but the truth of it is actually that the problem here is you, not me. Although, then again, with that said, considering that these are all statements that I've heard babes say, maybe there's something behind it that I don't understand. Maybe I'm chatting a bunch of bullshit. Maybe I'm being a little too harsh. I don't know. Maybe the babes should tell me. Either way, I want your thoughts on this, regardless of gender. So, the DMs are open. On IG, it is at the breaktime_podcast. On Facebook, it is at the breaktime podcast. On X, it is at bagakad. And on Bluesky, it is at the breaktimepod.bsky.social. Thank you so much for listening all the way till the end, and I will catch you guys on the next break.